Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'd like to start us off with some numbers. India is the fifth largest economy in the world with a GDP of over 3.3 trillion US dollars and a staggering growth rate of 7%. Just to put that into context, US has a growth rate of about 2%, China is at 3 right now. India is also the third largest producer of unicorns across the globe with 108 unicorns at a value at over 340 billion US dollars. We have the youngest population in the world, with more than half of our population being under the age of 30, and a projected 1.3 billion internet users by 2030. 1.3 billion. That's 4 times the population of the United States. Not to mention, India is a leading emerging market, second only to China. This is India. So why is it that out of those 108 unicorns, an estimated 56%, more than half, are not domiciled in India? They're domiciled in jurisdictions like the United States. Why is it that every day I have clients coming and asking me to set up their structures, to set up their funds or their holding companies in offshore jurisdictions like Singapore, Mauritius, or Cayman? Well, the answer is not as complicated as you might think. There's 3 main reasons. The first is that India is not really easy to do business in. Just take a small example. I drafted my mother's will and I was its executor. I took that document. I was extremely confident that it was a legal and binding document that the bank would obviously follow. And when I took it to the bank, they refused to give me access to her funds. They gave me a laundry list of additional documents that I needed to provide and a set of instructions that I needed to follow that were illogical, impractical, and just not workable. And it made me realize that if, as a lawyer, knowing that I have a legal right to exercise something and it's still not happening, how must it be for the multitude of companies, non-residents, first-time founders and managers to navigate the intricate complexities of India's bureaucratic and administrative systems? So yeah, it's not easy to do business here. Second, tax. Leaving tax rates aside, there is a lot of tax uncertainty in India, right? The tax laws are changing, not just on an annual basis, but any time in between as well. And more importantly, tax jurisprudence is constantly evolving. Every few months, we get a landmark judgment. And not only does it affect the tax that you pay going forward, but a lot of times in India, these decisions have retrospective application. So the transaction that you did 5 years ago and you paid tax, you paid the legally applicable tax, is now reopened, reassessed, and guess what? Now you have to pay more tax and you may have to pay interest and penalty too. Third, the regulatory restrictions. The RBI has made it increasingly difficult to have cross-border transactions. Just last year, they did a complete overhaul over the overseas investment regulations, which now severely restrict Indian resident individuals and unlisted companies from sending money overseas. Similarly, our inward regulations are equally complex and have restrictions and conditions that are not easy to understand and don't really facilitate an environment where you can have your global investors coming easily into India to fund your ventures. And this isn't new. It's been happening for decades. And these structures, you're setting up offshore. And by doing that, the value is leaving India. The IP is leaving India. And most importantly, the talent is leaving India. Finally, the Indian government has come up with a solution. And that solution is the Gujarat International Finance and Tech City, which is GIFT City. GIFT City is India's first and only International Financial Services Center, or IFSC. And the goal of GIFT City, or the goal of the Indian government through GIFT City, is to bring back those offshore structures back to India. And the only way that it can do that is to create an environment and a tax and regulatory framework that is on par with those of Delaware, Mauritius, Singapore, etc. So what have they really done? The first thing they've done is setting up a unified regulator. The International Financial Services Center Authority, or IFSCA for short, is a unified body that has the powers of RBI, SEBI, IRDA, and PFRDA, which means it's a one-stop shop. You file your application with them, you get your regulations from them, and as a regulator, unlike some of the ones in India, I won't say any names, they are quite open to suggestion. They, issue consultation papers. I can call them up, ask them questions. I have regulators on my WhatsApp that I can ask, and they revert the same day. So they're an extremely accessible regulator that's willing to create a functioning business environment. 2, there have been significant income tax incentives given to businesses set up in GIFT City. So for example, the dividend rates, interest rates are on par with the rates applicable in tax treaties with countries like Mauritius or Singapore. Most significantly, if you set up your business operations in GIFT City, you get 100% tax holiday on business income. You don't pay tax on your business income for any consecutive 10 years out of the first 15 years that you've set up. 3rd, one of the most interesting things the government has done with respect to GIFT City is to say that any business that's set up in GIFT City is treated as a non-resident for India's foreign exchange purposes. What does that really mean? It means that any investments into your business in GIFT City are completely free of any of the regulations that RBI has issued for inward remittance, and any investments that your company makes globally are also free from RBI's or FEMA's overseas restrictions. So just like if you set up a company in Mauritius and that company can invest anywhere in the world and can get investments from anywhere in the world without India having any say, in the same way, your company in GIFT City can operate. So, the next time you're thinking about setting up your structure offshore, I invite you to consider GIFT City as your Midshore jurisdiction, which is close to home, has a business-friendly environment, and a tax and regulatory framework that is on par with global standards. Thank you.